You said an intelligent haunting.
Yes.
How many different kinds of hauntings are there?
Well, there are
There's
different...
pretty stupid ones?
Not stupid, not by...
No stupid hauntings? Okay.
No stupid hauntings.
This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. It's Halloween weekend, and we're chasing ghosts. Today, we'll walk the streets of downtown Bar Harbor and see where the ghosts are and learn their stories. It turns out Bar Harbor is full of ghosts, and some of them have been pretty playful this year. It also turns out that there are many different kinds of hauntings. We'll get into mischievous ghosts, evil spirits, witch curses, energy orbs, spooky voices. This will be a little strange for another reason, too. One of the largest cruise ships in the world is in Bar Harbor as we walk the sidewalks, elbowing people out of the way so we can investigate phantoms and apparitions. Jennifer Pittu of Dawnland Tours is my spirit guide for this ghostly Bar Harbor tour. Stay close, don't get separated. Most of all, don't go down to the basement. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, and EBS. We start the walk at Abbey Museum in downtown Bar Harbor. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Bob.
Oh, so we're walking downtown Bar Harbor right now. This is a ghostly Bar Harbor tour.
It is.
Now, this is the third time you've been on the show. That really ought to be worth something. But there were no prizes for it, no additional rewards.
Well, I thank you for letting me come on. This is awesome.
Well, it's hard to follow you because the first time we ever did this on the air, and we talked ghosts, you were with the Bangor Historical Society Museum.
Yes.
Then it was Dawnland Tours, the ghostly Bangor tour.
Yes.
And now you're in Bar Harbor much of the time doing it here.
Yes.
So how did that come to pass that you're over here now?
Well, I'm still with Dawnland Tours.
Yes.
We moved to Bar Harbor because, quite frankly, the numbers are here.
Uh-huh.
We get a lot of people coming through Bar Harbor every year. About 3 million that come through town on their way to Acadia National Park. We still do operate tours in Bangor. We do it on more of on a private tour basis now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great move. We've been welcomed into the community here in Bar Harbor. We have a lot of great working relationships with the businesses, and we've been able to partner with some very key nonprofits.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of skeptical about two things. First of all, ghosts, and we'll get to that. But second of all, Bar Harbor was famous for a lot of drunk rich people.
Oh, yes.
But I've never heard much about ghosts in this town.
Now, yes, Bar Harbor is full of stories about drunk rich people. However, there is a lot more to history than just drunk rich people. There were thousands of people here who were coming to service the drunk rich people because they had to keep their summer cottages up. Mm-hmm. There were maids, cooks, housekeepers, nannies, groomsmen, literally armies of servants to keep this going.
Well, with that kind of work staff around, there's usually a few murders.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
There are always some very, very sketchy situations going on. Uh-huh. In particular, at the house where we are right now, this is a lovely Queen Anne Victorian-style home in Bar Harbor. It was built in 1904. In this particular structure, we have the ghost of a young woman who hanged herself after her fiancé disappeared, and she became the butt of the scandal in town. Because very wealthy people at that time liked to talk, and, well, they do today. Just get on Twitter any day of the week. We love to talk about one another. And in her despair, she actually went up to her third-floor sewing room and hanged herself using her veil.
Right in this mansion here.
In this mansion right here. And her spirit is a very active spirit, or what we would call an intelligent-style haunting. Mm-hmm. There are several other ghosts in this particular building, and my favorite is the murdered maid. See, now you did say murder. I gotta give you one. So the maid was found at the bottom of the back stairs one morning, and her neck was broken. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people started to talk and started to say things like, oh, she tripped, she fell down, oh, the poor thing. But then other people were saying that she was pushed by her employer's wife in a jealous rage because it was rumored she was having an affair with her employer. And her spirit is actually one of the angriest that we know of in Bar Harbor. And she manifests as a cold blast of air, a feeling of dread. She'll slam doors and also be arguing voices in dark rooms. But when you go in, no one's ever there. So she's another very active spirit here in this particular building.
You said an intelligent haunting.
Yes.
How many different kinds of hauntings are there?
Well, there are different
Pretty stupid ones?
Not stupid, not by
No stupid hauntings? Okay.
No stupid hauntings. One of the two that we talk about most on this particular tour are residual hauntings, which is the most common type of haunting, and the intelligent haunt. There are
Starting
three.
to feel that cool blast of air.
It is rather breezy out. So the residual haunting is one that is really like a clip from a movie. It just plays over and over again. The entity is energy that is trapped within the walls of a building. And this energy plays out over and over again. You might actually see one in an old home that you own where you say, hey, I usually see this woman walking through my upstairs hallway. That's all I ever see of her. I don't think I have a ghost in the house, yet I see this woman walk through my hallway. It's residual energy that's left behind and what we call a residual haunt. The intelligent hauntings, which 9 times out of 10 they are not, these particular types of hauntings can interact with you. They can choose to interact with you, but not interact with me. Or they may choose to interact with both of us very differently. And they are the ones that may follow you from room to room, or appear to some, not appear to others kind of thing, and move things in your bedroom, or appear at the foot of your bed, as often happens in this building.
So this building has 2 ghosts as far as you know?
No, this ghost has many more than that.
Is there 1 ghost per room? I mean, we talk about this being a Gothic-looking building. This could be the setting for a Stephen King novel. This is a Gothic-looking mansion. This
is a wonderful Queen Anne-style Victorian building, and a lot of the times, you're very right, it has that look to it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we often tell the folks who come on our Haunted Bar Harbor tour is that we always get questions, why is it the old Victorians are so haunted? And that really goes back to the time of the Victorian era when seances were the hottest fad going. If you had the money to do it, you had a medium come to your home. You invited your friends over and you tried to talk to somebody that had gone on and passed before you. Now, this all goes back to the idea of the good death. Drew Gilpin Faust actually wrote a book called This Republic of Suffering. And it's the most depressing book you'll ever read, but it is fascinating. And it talks about the good death, about how in the Victorian era prior to the Civil War, you would want to die surrounded by your family members. And they hung on your last words so they could tell where you were going in the end of it. So then the American Civil War disrupted this idea of the good death. So then we have the rise of embalming. We have the rise of seances, because you wanted to know if little Johnny, who died on the battlefield in the Civil War, was okay. You would want to know where Great Uncle Luke hid the family silver before the Yankees were coming. You know, that's a very important thing to do. And this all played out in this particular home.
Wow. So how many ghosts? I mean, have you actually counted the number of ghosts, or is it uncountable?
Right now, we know of 4. We do talk about 4 on the tour. And then we do have reports from people who have worked in close proximity to this home that have seen even more spirits as a residual style haunting, who dance past the windows like they used to when they held large parties in this building.
Okay, I'm not going to reveal which inn this is.
Oh, no.
No. But do the guests who stay here know it's haunted?
Well, this actually is not an inn anymore. This has changed over last year. It changed over to dormitory-style housing for people who work in the hospitality industry.
Well, do they know?
They don't tell them it's haunted, Bob. They find out very quickly because there are a lot of unexplained activity that happens, and then they come looking for us.
Okay.
They come looking for us, and then they find out who knows about this house, and we're the ones that are pointed to, and folks come and ask us, and we're happy to inform them.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe not so happy, but we do our duty, and we inform about the history of the particular home.
The haunted homes we're talking about are in Bar Harbor. Jennifer Pictou of Dawnland Tours is showing me where all the ghosts are. We're walking the streets of downtown in broad daylight, so we're not likely to encounter anything that goes bump in the night. Now, I'm a little skeptical about ghosts, but I did have an experience with one a few years ago. Stand by, or hide under the covers. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. I'm with Jennifer Pictou on a tour of ghostly Bar Harbor. There's apparently a spook around every corner here. Who knew? Follow along, but watch your step. We are now crossing Mount Desert Street. Okay, once again, we're walking back towards downtown Bar Harbor. Just passing the Anchorage Motel. I said that I'm a skeptic. I'm not I don't go one way or the other. I guess I'm kind of open-minded.
Oh, you're a show-me kind of guy.
I'm not even that. I don't have to be shown. I think it's possible. There's a lot of things in life I can't explain, the presidential race being one of them.
Boy, howdy.
So I have an open mind to it all, and I will say that I stayed in an inn out in Bethel some years ago, and they had a noted ghost there. It was explained that we might have an experience, and we did. I know that light was turned off when I went to bed that night. When we got up in the morning, the light right over the bed was on.
Wow.
And we would not have left the light on to go to sleep. And we didn't turn it on in the middle of the night. And we were told that's the kind of thing this ghost did. So, well, that was eye-opening.
I bet it was. This particular building that we're passing right now is a very, very old religious structure. And the first structure, or the first part of this particular structure, was built in 1877 for a whopping $7,000.
Oh, really? This?
Yes.
This church?
Yes. There was an addition to this in 1885, one of a few additions, and they actually hired a company out of Boston to create the large nave and the tower in the middle. And that's how we get the big cruciform shape. And this particular structure is built in the style of an English Gothic parish church. Now, the churchyard that's attached to this particular religious structure, we don't usually stop at churches. Stopping at churches is a stereotypical kind of thing to do on a ghost tour, and we don't do that because ghosts don't usually haunt where their bodies are buried. They usually haunt the structures that they loved in life, or the places where the tragedy happened that caused their deaths. This little churchyard kind of makes a liar out of me.
Okay.
That's the rule of thumb.
Uh-huh.
In the back of this church, there is a street, and that street has a lot of residential housing on it. The folks who live on that street have seen over time, we've had reports from many people who have grown up in Bar Harbor about the man who walks that street, and he's dressed in clothing from the 1800s. What he does is he comes up to the back of the churchyard and he disappears into the church. Now, whether he's visiting his own grave, which seems unlikely, or the grave of a loved one, we don't know. And he is, again, one of those residual style hauntings. So he doesn't interact with anybody. I kind of wish he would, because we'd love to know more about his story.
Okay, this is a really bizarre question.
I love it.
You mentioned that he's wearing period clothing.
Yes.
Do they ever change clothes?
No. No, not usually.
No, it's always the same outfit every single time.
Usually the same outfit, and that's actually a great question, because one of the hallmarks to this whole ghost hunting kind of thing, and we don't go ghost hunting. We do a ghost tour. We tell stories,
right.
And when people report their ghosts, we usually hear very similar things. A lady in white appeared at the foot of my bed. A man walked this street. He was dressed in this style clothing. A woman is out there on that particular field and she looks like this, or she's been crying. You know, things like that. There's always some kind of demarcation or some kind of method that you can go, that's an identifier is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Some kind of identifier, because they usually play out something in regards to the time of their death or to the time of their life when they were the happiest.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's no wardrobe change for that.
I don't know why that question even occurred to me, to tell you the truth.
That's a great question. You wouldn't believe the number of crazy questions we get. I love them all.
Now we're right behind the Commons in downtown Bar Harbor, walking towards the fire station.
Indeed. The Village Green never used to be a Village Green. It actually was the site of an old hotel a long time ago. Most people don't know that.
No.
So we're headed down towards Cottage Street.
Okay.
There's actually a place on Cottage Street I can't take anybody.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Right on the street, or behind in the alley, or what?
Well, all I can tell you is it's at one end of Cottage Street that gets a lot of business. And the owner has asked us that we don't bring anybody by. We don't tell folks what the building used to be before it became the inn that it is, and we also don't tell anybody their name at the request of the owner.
Well, what did it used to be? A morgue? I mean,
I can't tell you that. See, I would be breaking my promise. Some tour.
What a jip.
We leave that place out on our tour.
Besides, you got enough ghosts to go around.
Oh my goodness, we do. I could actually put you in a vehicle, drive you around Mount Desert Island, and make this easily a 3-hour tour. There are so many spirits here. I had a gentleman who lives in Tremont come up to me at the Criterion Theater one day, and he puts his hand on his hip and he says, "You don't go by my house." He says, "You don't tell about our ghost." I said, "Well, no, I don't. Please tell me about that." And he said his ghost is the original owner, the man who built the structure. And he and his wife don't live in this state. However, he said when they used to leave at the end of summer, go back to their year-round home, they would board up the windows on their porch. They had to stop doing that, and then they started wrapping their porch in canvas because the ghost shows up when they're not there, and the police in town have actually seen the old man sitting on the porch and investigated to see who it was.
Wow.
It's very, very cool.
This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. I'm in Bar Harbor with Jennifer Pictou on a ghostly Bar Harbor walking tour. Coming up, if you're being haunted by a ghost, is there anything you can do about it? Tell it to just go away? Get an afterlife? It may not sound like it, but this is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8 on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. If you're just joining us, I'm in Bar Harbor on a walking tour of haunted places. Jennifer Pictou is my spirit guide. She offers up these excursions through her company, Dawnland Tours, which you can find at dawnlandtours.com. Now, be forewarned, this is the last weekend of her season. But don't worry, the ghosts will be here next year. And forever.
So we are actually headed down Cottage Street right now, Bob.
Passing in front of the Criterion Theater.
Passing in front of the Criterion Theater.
There has to be a ghost in there.
That's our next stop.
Okay. Every old theater, especially one that old, any old opera house, has got to have a ghost.
Absolutely. Now, the really cool thing about the Criterion Theater itself, and we can cross the road here. The really cool thing about this particular theater is that this used to be an old speakeasy as well.
Oh, did it really?
It did. It did. It's got a great history to it. It's on the National Register of Historic Places as well. The nonprofit that operates it has allowed us to take groups inside the theater, and it's all dependent upon the theater's schedule. If they have an event that we just can't enter, then we don't. But most of the time, we do take groups in, and we tell their ghost story. Now, this is a contentious place. Some people say there are no ghosts here. All the ghost stories were made up. But the one story that seems to resonate with everyone actually goes back to an old newspaper account that I dug out in the local historical society. And one of the previous owners used to talk about the ghost and the ghostly activity, and she admitted that it predated her ownership of the building, and her ownership of the building was decades ago. So there is something here. We do have a story to tell, and it is quite interesting. Sometimes the ghost makes my lantern flicker in this place.
Well, see, that was going to be my next question, especially in a theater like this where you can crowd in a lot of people. Do you, I mean, you're not looking for ghosts, but do you ever accidentally have one show up during a tour?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely. Sometimes people bring the spirits with them. Sometimes they bring someone that's attached to them. And one of those times was just a couple of weeks ago when, as soon as the 4-person party showed up, my lantern started flickering uncontrollably. Now, I check all my equipment before I go out, and I ask them, who's with you? And they said, oh, that would be, and then they gave me a name. So this was something that was very known to them. It wasn't like they were surprised that there was a spirit, following them around. By the end of the tour, they figured out who it really was, and it turned out to be one of their moms, which was really cool because she loved Bar Harbor. The last time they had been in Bar Harbor was when she was with them, and they really felt like they were trying to be contacted by her on the tour.
If you don't want to be haunted by somebody who can follow you around, is it possible to move, or are you just stuck?
Oh, no, you're not stuck. You can actually, from the people that we work with, and we work with not only historians and museum people, but we also contact mediums, and we work with people in the industry to get a lot of our information from. And one thing that's usually said is you can put up your own boundaries. And it might be as simple as saying, family and friends are always welcome in my home, but everything else has to leave. Or I do not give anyone permission, or anyone or anything permission to follow me home. I am protected by the divine light. And whatever the divine light is for you, no matter whatever your religious preference, it's okay. They're not checking. They're not checking a box and going, you're Baptist. No, that's bad. They don't do that kind of thing. So it's really surrounding yourself with protective energy and setting up boundaries, telling them, no, you cannot follow me home.
Okay. You never really talk about malevolent ghosts.
Well, we don't have any on the tour.
Yeah. Are there such a thing?
Yes.
There are? Okay.
Yes, there are. Some of the malevolent activities, I actually grew up in a house that was really, really haunted by 3 malevolent entities.
Great.
Yeah, that was a good time.
I just fought with my siblings.
Oh, I did that too.
Oh, good.
But yeah, we actually had at least one malevolent entity in the home, and it was always terrifying when that one came out to play. So when I see these like paranormal things on TV, folks, they go, oh, it was awful, it was terrible. I just sit there and laugh and go, no way, no, I got a house for you.
Would you ever say something like, I'm busy right now, go haunt my brother?
No.
No, that doesn't work?
No,
Okay.
that I was far too young, and my father always gave us a piece of wisdom, and it was his, and he said, you have to make your own peace with the ghosts. And that really folds over into a lot of areas of our lives, whether they are spiritual entities like ghosts, or the ghosts of your past that haunt you through regret. It was a wise piece of information.
Yeah, okay. All right, we done with Criterion?
We are done with the Criterion. I do have to tell you that this is one of the places where folks have captured orbs in their photos. They have actually captured the figure, a shadow figure of a person, very clearly in the balcony booths. in photos, and they have also captured bright light trails in their photography. So sometimes the spirit in the criterion really likes to come out and play.
Now, orb? Is it just some kind of circular light, or?
Well, it's a circular light, but most paranormal investigators usually tend to believe that it is a manifestation of the spirit's energy. And it's a ball of energy that flies through the air. It doesn't take one direction in particular. It can go all over the place. Sometimes people take photos of them and they find little happy faces in them. I'm not sure about the happy faces, but I have seen photos that tour takers have taken along the tour route, and they are unexplainable balls of light that were not there when I stopped to talk about that area.
Does anybody ever keep a catalog of these? Is there a book somewhere?
A book of what? The ghosts?
No,
or
a book of photographs that people have taken that have accidental ghosts in them.
Sometimes they share those with us. We did actually have a lady and her brother. They were in their 70s. They were wonderful people. Actually come to Bar Harbor in May of this year, and they were so moved by one of the stories of our spirits here in town. They decided to do a little ghost hunting on their own, and they captured an electronic voice phenomenon, also known as an EVP, and they shared that with us. And now we play it on every tour that we have. So
the
it's actual
recording.
evidence. Yes.
Okay. Well, in fact, as we walk to our next destination, tell me the science behind this, because clearly, for true believers, there has to be a science developed on how to investigate this. What is it?
Wow, that's a big question. That's like explain physics in a thimble.
Well, we're just about out of time.
Well, the science behind ghost hunting is that the main belief is that we are all energy. Our spirits are energy, and the bodies that we walk around in will eventually give out. Now, under the scientific theory that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, that would imply that we can go on, that our energy continues to go on afterward. But where it goes, is anybody's guess. What paranormal investigators do, and again, we don't do this on the tours, but if someone is so inclined, there are meters that they can purchase online. There are all kinds of different equipment that paranormal investigators use to mark those indicators, like a drop in temperature, energy spikes, and energy dips. One of the things that paranormal investigators I worked with in Bangor said that sometimes they go into an investigation and they have all brand new batteries. And then when a ghost is particularly active, all their batteries will be sucked dry of energy.
Maybe they have the wrong brand.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do.
Oh, let's cross here. We'll take a break to dodge traffic. Jennifer Pictou is an expert on Bar Harbor's ghosts. Coming up, there's one ghost who's been particularly active this summer, and she's just down the shore path ahead of us. But none of the spirits we've talked about so far have been mean-spirited. Are there any? Are there Indian ghosts here from before European settlers arrived? Well, that's next when Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine continues on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Today's show is in Bar Harbor, and we're investigating ghosts with Jennifer Pictou of Dawnland Tours. And not just ghosts, but evil spirits, Indian curses, energy orbs. And we're doing it all on foot as we wind our way through tourists. It's windy here today, and there's a huge cruise ship in town, too. Boy, we are right downtown in Bar Harbor, right in the thick of the crowd. And people are watching us wander the streets with microphones saying, what the hell are they doing?
Well, you should see them look at me at night when I'm wandering around in an old-fashioned dress and a lantern. Now, we are heading down to the Agamont Park area.
Okay.
So here at Agamont Park, there are a few things here that you really need to know about. Number one, the most frightening thing to anybody who is in Bar Harbor, who lives here year-round...
Is the parking?
Yes, you're absolutely right. But down here to the right, we have the shore path. The shore path extends for about a mile along the waters of Frenchman's Bay. There are several buildings on the shore path that are haunted as well, have very active types of spirits. There's also the lady on the shore path, and she has been very active with us this year.
Okay, what's her story?
Well, she lost her husband and she lost her son. And she has been waiting for about 200 years for them to reappear. And she comes down to the shore path every night and she watches the waters of Frenchman's Bay for them.
So they were out lost at sea?
The husband was, and the son, we're not quite sure what happened to him. And it's most likely that he drowned here on the shore and then just got sucked out to the open water. So she is very, very sad. She manifests watching for her loved ones to come back to her. She has been very active with our tour guests this year, appearing in their photographs as orbs, whispering in their ear while on tour.
Wow.
And she has even shown up in one recording when a couple of our tour folks went out ghost hunting on their own, and I got a very excited phone call the next morning, and they said, oh my goodness, you have to listen to this recording. And they were asking questions and she answered them. So now we play that recording on every tour as evidence of the ghost on the shore path. She's been incredible.
So you get the feeling that she's sentient?
Yes,
okay, so,
very much so.
So she can actually answer questions?
I do believe that she can answer to the best of her ability. You never get the answer you want out of ghosts, Bob. It's just they don't
get
work.
it out of live people either.
I know, everybody's an oracle. So, yeah, you can ask questions all you want, but what they have the energy to produce is completely different.
Okay.
For instance, the phrase that she gives us leaves us with more questions than answers. So we also talk about that on the tour, that you don't always get answers when you go ghost hunting. So these are the tales we tell. We also tell about the big hotel right over here. There is a story associated with that. We also introduce a lot of Wabanaki Indian tales into the tour as well.
Well, let's back up for a second and explain who you are.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Well, my name is Jennifer.
Pictou.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Pictou. I am the owner of Dawnland Tours, LLC. I am a tribal member of the Aroostook Band of Micmacs, which is about 210 miles north of Bar Harbor. I am also in the off-season and mostly year-round, I should just say. I am the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer as well.
So when you talk Wabanaki, you know what you're talking about.
Yes, yes. Well, I like to.
Yeah,
I'd like
right.
to think I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know everything about everything. I can only tell what I know from my own experience. So when we do introduce the idea of Wabanaki stories on the Ghost Tour, we are doing something that no other tour company is doing around the country. We tell Wabanaki Indian spirit tales from the first voice perspective, because a lot of these stories that we tell you will not find in print. They have been passed down from one generation to another. This is also a really good way to reiterate the point that we Wabanaki people have no removal story. We have been here since time immemorial, and our stories go back that far as well. And we're very proud to be partnered with the only Smithsonian affiliate museum in the state of Maine who educates about Wabanaki people. And it's right here in Bar Harbor.
Yes, it is. It's glorious inside.
So some of our Wabanaki stories are actually more frightening than the Euro-American stories. And our whole viewpoint of this ghost tour is to give visitors to Bar Harbor a dual cultural viewpoint of ghosts and things that go bump in the night that are unexplainable.
Well, let me put this one to you then. Europeans weren't here, let's say, 300 years ago.
Okay.
So there's probably no European immigrant type ghost older than that. Are there 1,000-year-old Indian ghosts?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have spirits that still walk the woods, who are following you in Acadia when you go on your hikes. We have we have spirits connected to the water. We have spirits connected to the very ground you and I are standing on right now. And these are the spirits no one knows about. We still have spirits that visit houses at night that are terribly frightening. We know about these, and one of the things that we do at Dawnland Tours is to educate about that viewpoint, because you can't tell just one side of history, and we tell shared history. Neither side is wholly right and wholly wrong, and that I'm going out on a limb saying that as a Wabanaki person, but we have to tell both sides, and this is a fun way to get your history.
Okay.
But we do tell stories about Wabanaki witch curses. We tell
Did you guys do that?
You know, the most famous Indian curse in Maine is the curse of the Saco River, right?
I don't know that one.
That one, yes, it was a chief who cursed the Saco River to take the lives of 3 white men every year after some Euro-Americans came and accosted his wife and threw his infant son into the river, causing enough damage to kill the child a few hours later. So in his great despair, he actually cursed the river. It wasn't until the 1950s that the local newspaper in Saco actually stated, "This is our first year that no one's died in the river." And
So does a curse wear off? How does that work? Or does it average out and you'll have 6 next year, right?
I think it averages out.
Okay.
But, there are still moms who live in the area of Saco, people who have grown up there, who will not let their kids swim in the Saco River until after 3 people have died.
Really?
Yes.
It'd be a better swimming season if you can sort of hurry that along in spring.
Well, you could, but people get a little twitchy when you round up folks and then just go push them in the river.
Yeah. I just like to think outside the box. Jennifer Pictou is leading this walking tour of downtown Bar Harbor. We're checking out the ghost known to be here, something she normally does through Dawnland Tours. Bar Harbor has seen a lot of new hotels lately. So question, if you knock down a haunted mansion, does the ghost leave? If you build a new hotel on a haunted site, is the new hotel going to be haunted? Who asked this stuff? Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. It's Halloween weekend, and we're on a ghostly Bar Harbor walking tour with Jennifer Pictou of Dawnland Tours. We started at a haunted mansion, crossed to a haunted church, ambled over to a haunted theater, went down to the haunted waterfront, and now we're heading back up to some haunted shops and restaurants.
So here we are on Main Street, and one of the things about Main Street is you could pass by places all day long and not know there is a ghost story connected to them. One of the places that we're going to go is a very well-established building that was a landmark for about 50 years, and it is tied to the ghost of a ship captain.
Really?
Yes. We're a seaport town.
Well, yeah,
Gotta throw
I got
in a
that
ship
part.
captain. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So, okay, the ship captain story is that there was a particular ship that came to Bar Harbor. The ship captain let all of the crew come on land. There was something very unique and identifier about this particular ship captain. And when the ship didn't return a few years later, locals found out that it had gone down in a storm. The ghost of the ship captain then began to visit the building that was named after the ship, because a local man purchased this particular building that takes up a block of real estate in Bar Harbor. And he named it after the ship because he loved the story so much. And to this day, same time of year, this particular ship captain, her spirit will actually come visit this particular building.
Her spirit?
Oh, I let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, you did.
It is. Yes, the
Did
ship.
they let women captain back then?
Well, that was her unique identifier.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually this building right over here.
Oh.
And this building has a lot of other businesses in it.
Sure enough, it said food and spirits right there in the corner.
Food and spirits. Boy, when they mean spirits, they mean
Really?
spirits.
I thought they just meant beer.
Yeah, so this particular building used to be a landmark photograph for postcards, books, travel brochures, and there are a lot of images of it in the Historical Society in town. But this is a very beloved kind of spirit that comes to downtown Bar Harbor. And we'll cross the street here.
We're right up to the Village Green again.
So this is just a smattering. There are more buildings. If you go up this street and hang a left at the next avenue, there are actually bed and breakfasts down there. And there is one where a woman in a yellow dress stands at the second window and she watches.
Oh, let's walk down there.
But that is nothing compared to the housekeeper's experience. And the main housekeeper actually has an entity in the bed and breakfast who teases her.
Really?
Yes.
If you could get her to make the bed in the morning, that would be good. That'd be a little more productive. So they've torn down a lot of Bar Harbor and put up hotels.
Yes.
On a new building, will an old ghost still haunt?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
It's because the spirit is attached to the place. Sometimes there are spirits who are attached to places that are torn down, but the spirit in the spirit's world, that building is still there.
Still get the same GPS coordinates.
Still have the same GPS.
Okay.
So sometimes that's what confuses people. And if you watch TV and all the ghost shows, you'll see numerous people who say, how can my house be haunted? It's brand new.
Right. Well, all cultures seem to have their own ghost stories and ghost histories and even their own names, like German for poltergeist, noisy ghost.
Absolutely.
Are there any cultural differences that are really outstanding between, let's say, Europe, America, Wabanakis?
Yes, there is. And one of the things that we tend to point out on our tours is the fact that many Euro-American style ghost stories have a transformation in them. And what I mean by that is a person will transform into an evil spirit, or an animal will transform into an evil entity upon its death. Or it's perfectly acceptable for folks to say, oh, the weird little spirits in that house over there, they're just the evil entities that the family who died in the house turned into. And it's a big transition from good or seemingly good to evil. In Wabanaki cultures, we also understand that some spirits, like the Micmac story we tell sometimes about the Chinu, the ice giant, that is more of a redemption story where that evil entity has the opportunity to turn good. And it's all based upon what he is allowed to do by the other creatures in his environment. And we find that a lot in everyday life, don't we? So the tour really resonates on a lot of levels with folks. And of course, over here in the Village Green is where we end our ghost tours. This is where we tell some of the most frightening stories of the evening.
Okay, let's get over next to the flower shop here and you can tell me one. Give me something really good and frightening.
Really good and frightening.
Yeah, sort through all your ghosts till you come up with a good one here.
All right, this one is actually a Wabanaki story that we tend to end with quite a bit. But it also illustrates that not all of our spirits are warm and fuzzy. And the ones that we do know in the woods, around our waterways, we also know what's hunting us. Sometimes when you speak to police departments and things, they'll make the comment, if you knew what was hunting you, you'd never leave your house kind of thing. We take that viewpoint because one of the last stories we tell is about the ones that I will not name. I will not name these spirits because to name them calls them to us. And I don't want them following you home, Bob. And I don't want them following me home at all either. Because they're the ones that go to your house at night and they look in your windows. When you think you see two red eyes in your windows at night, but you say, that's funny. There was a car that went by and I just saw the brake lights. It's not the brake lights.
Ooh.
And if you see a pale face pressed up, leering at you through the glass in your window, and you think I'm overtired, you're not. When you hear the scratching on the window pane, do not ever open your windows, because you never want to allow these particular spirits into your home. Always keep your windows closed, and I'll give you a tip. When it gets to be twilight, close your blinds, close your curtains. Never give these particular spirits a way to look in at you.
Did it just get cold, or is it just me?
It's not just you.
Well, Jennifer, pick two. This was show number 3 we've done together. I think it may be our best.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to speak to you and speak to your listeners. And how to get in contact with us is pretty easy. We are on Facebook, and we also are on Twitter, Instagram, and we have a website, which is dawnlandtours.com.
And we should make it clear that it's D-A-W-N,
Yes,
Dawnland.
dawn like the rising sun.
Exactly.
Dawn.
Mm-hmm. Or People of the Dawn. Or
People of the Dawn, exactly. You.
And that's it from Bar Harbor. Foliage season is over in Acadia. November starts on Tuesday. Inns are closing. Restaurants are closing. Soon, this place will be a ghost town. My thanks to Jennifer Pictou for the ghostly Bar Harbor Walkabout. Coming up next weekend, we're going to Milford. Bill Mikowski is famous for making pack baskets, fishing creels, and snowshoes. We'll check out the snowshoes next week. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, and EBS. Join me next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 8. And remember, all shows are archived at 929theticket.com, so you can re-listen or share any show online. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket.